Bruce Braden, editor of Ye Will Say I'm No Christian, the Thomas Jefferson John Adams Correspondence on Religion, Morals, and Values, Prometheus Books, 2005. Today, I'd like to read to you a piece from Benjamin Franklin that he wrote in the Pennsylvania Gazette, April 10th, 1735, in defense of the Reverend Samuel Hemphill, who was a Presbyterian minister who was being challenged by the former minister of the church that he was preaching in, and went before the synod to be replaced. It is sufficiently known to all the thinking part of mankind how difficult it is to alter opinions long and universally received. The prejudices of education, custom, and example are generally very strong. It may therefore seem in a manner needless to publish anything contrary to such long imbibed and generally received opinions. It were, however, much to be wished that men would consider how glorious a conquest they make when they shake off all manner of prejudice and bring themselves to think freely, fairly, and honestly. This is to think and act like men. 'Tis a privilege common to mankind. 'Tis the only way to promote the interest of truth and liberty in the world, and surely none but slaves and lovers of dominion and darkness can be out of humor at it. Nor would any man or any set of men pretend to hinder others from a free, impartial inquiry into matters of religion, especially if they had not some sinister design in so doing. My brethren of the laity, as it is to you that this letter is addressed, and chiefly for your sakes that I take the liberty of publishing it, it is hoped you'll seriously consider the contents of it. The generality of the clergy were always too fond of power to quit their pretensions to it by anything that was ever yet said by any particular person. But, my brethren, how soon should we humble their pride, did we all heartily and unanimously join in asserting our own natural rights and liberties in opposition to their unrighteous claims? Besides, we could make use of more prevailing arguments than any that have been yet advanced. I mean such as oppose their temporal interests. It is impossible they could long stand against the united force of so powerful antagonists. Truth, managed by the laity in opposition to them and their temporal interest, would do much. Their pretending to be the directors of men's consciences and ambassadors of the meek and lowly Jesus, 'twere greatly to be wished that they'd studied more to imitate so perfect a model of meekness and humility, and pretended less to a power that belongs not to them. And their assuming such like fine titles ought not to frighten us out of a good cause, the glorious cause of Christian liberty. It is very probable indeed that according to their laudable custom, they will make very free with the characters of those that oppose their schemes, and like sound orthodox divines call them heretics, unsound in faith, and so on. But there is no argument in such kind of language, nor will it ever persuade. And we ought to value such ridiculous epithets just as little as St. Paul did in Acts 24:14, since instead of a reproach, they may be our greatest glory and honor. Such kind of treatment was always looked upon to be a strong argument either of a bad cause or a weak side. That is our duty, to make a vigorous opposition to them, is plain from these two considerations. First, that when and wherever men blindly submitted themselves to the impositions of priests, whether popish, Presbyterian, or Episcopal, etc., ignorance, error, bigotry, enthusiasm, and superstition more or less, and in proportion to such submission, most certainly ensued. And secondly, that all the persecutions, cruelties, mischiefs, and disturbances that ever yet happened in the church took their rise from the usurped power and authority of her lawless sons. Let us then, to the utmost of our power, endeavor to preserve and maintain truth, common sense, and universal charity, and brotherly love, peace, and tranquility, as recommended in the gospel of Jesus, in this our infant and growing nation, by steadily opposing those whose measures tend to nothing less than utterly to subvert and destroy all. Nothing, in all probability, can prevent our being a very flourishing and happy people, but our suffering the clergy to get upon our backs and ride us as they do their horses where they please. Thus, I think I have examined the principal things in this vindication of the Reverend's commission, and upon the whole it appears even from a plain narration of matter of fact that they, the leading men among them at least, came to Philadelphia with malice, rancor, and prejudice in their hearts, resolved at all hazards to condemn the man and his doctrines, and their aversion to both carried them those shameful lengths which we have here shown in their true light. For if to justify a known perjury, to lie openly and to frequently in the face of the world, if to condemn doctrines agreeable to the main end and design of the gospel, and calculated for the common welfare of men, if to stamp an appearance of sanctity upon animosity, false zeal, injustice, fraud, oppression, by their own open example as well as precept, and to behave as bitter adversaries instead of impartial judges, if to do all this be truly Christian, candor, charity, and truth, then I venture to say, these reverend gentlemen have given the most lively instances of theirs. For all these things have been so strongly charged and fairly proved upon them that they must of necessity confess their guilt in silence, or by endeavoring a refutation of the plain truth, plunge themselves deeper into the dirt and filth of hypocrisy and falsehood and impiety, till at length they carry their quibbling absurdities far enough to open the eyes of the weakest and most unthinking part of the laity, from whom alone they can expect support. And